Hey yo, how's it going, members of the Chico Army and any new potential recruits? If this is your first day here, my name is Tyler of Chico Crypto, and it's time for crypto and, of course, a cold one. Today's featured brewski is Samuel Adams Boston Lager out of Boston, Massachusetts. Never been there before. I heard it's cold. Boston Lager is good. I've had it before, but not in a long time. So, SWIFT, or Society for Worldwide Interbank Financial Telecommunication, was created in 1973, and at the time was revolutionary. Although over 40 years later, the system is lacking in speed and efficiency, as a wire transfer takes 3 to 5 business days to go through, and even longer when more parties are involved and the transaction becomes more complex. Slow? Yes. And as the globe becomes more interconnected, a faster system is critical to furthering economic growth and prosperity. Cryptocurrencies allow a downright faster and much cheaper option than what has been quid pro quo for nearly half a century. And two coins are fighting to be the leader in the space. These coins are Ripple Labs, XRP, and Stellar Lumens. Today I would like to dive into a bit of history behind the two projects because both projects' inceptions have extremely close ties, and most people don't realize this. Let's start from the beginning, even before Bitcoin was created, way back in 2004. This was the year Ripple Pay was founded by a man named Ryan Fugger. The idea was a peer-to-peer trust network of financial relations that would replace banks. Then in 2008, Bitcoin launched and solved the major problem faced by all digital currencies, the double spending problem. Bitcoin succeeded where the original Ripple failed, building that peer-to-peer trust network that's theoretically impossible to crack. Fast forward to 2010, a guy named Jed McCaleb turned Mt. Gox, a Magic the Gathering card exchange website, into the largest online Bitcoin exchange, which he sold in 2011. He carved a path for himself as a Bitcoin pioneer, and shortly after leaving Mt. Gox, he was handed the reins of the Ripple project from Ryan that motherfugger. In May of 2011, Jed, who is the original brains behind Ripple, came up with the concept of what would become Ripple's consensus algorithm. Here's a post from Bitcoin Talk where Jed explains the concept. Around that same time, Jed McCaleb met with cryptographer David Shwartz, who is currently Ripple's chief cryptographer. They met at a coffee shop and Jed pitched him the idea he called NewCoin, a financial infrastructure similar to Bitcoin that would use far less energy and reduce transaction times. Jed and David worked in cooperation, building the product, bouncing ideas off each other to create the consensus that would power the protocol. A year later, in 2012, they incorporated the company as NewCoin Incorporated. In the state of California, baby. Less than a month later, NewCoin was renamed to OpenCoin, and this was about the same time the team brought on Chris Larsen, a tech businessman who made his mark on the internet industry during the tech bubble. Chris Larsen remains on the board today as executive chairman and is described as the co-founder of Ripple. In late 2012, the ideals of the two camps, Jed McCaleb on one side, all the others on the other, started to diverge. McCaleb and Chris Larsen disagreed on strategy. Jed's ideals were about creating true open-source peer-to-peer payment systems. Larsen and the others wanted to own all the rights to the Ripple software suite and keep it closed source. We will now take a look at the Founders Agreement, signed in September 2012 between David Larsen, Jed McCaleb, and another developer brought on, the person who had the skills to actually solidify Jed's concept as a product, the mystery person named Arthur Britto II. Now, from this agreement, we can conclude that a key component of Ripple's original protocol comes from the intellectual property contributed by Arthur. The Founders Agreement was used to persuade Arthur to contribute the IP and make the project a reality. In the agreement, it says the founders are awarded with 20% of the Ripple tokens, and the rest 80% were gifted to OpenCoin. The agreement also explained that Ripple software is permissive open source that is wholly owned by OpenCoin, which would become Ripple Labs in late 2013. Funny thing is, Arthur Britto fellow is still a big mystery of who he actually is. Not one photo of him online, only a South Park character from his GitHub. And his current connection with Ripple is clouded and unclear. Now to the split. Like mentioned before, the ideals of the two camps were different. In late 2013, Jed was seemingly forced out of the project based on support Larsen received from new venture capital investors. Ripple was a for-profit company, and Jed wanted a truly peer-to-peer payment system that was open source and not for profit. Jed created Stellar Lumens in 2014 based on the fork of the built Ripple protocol. This is where the differences between the two were clearly laid out. Stellar is managed by the Stellar Development Foundation, nonprofit, and it aims at providing the unbanked people around the world with a platform for making basic to advanced transactions, the original concept of Ripple. Ripple became an entirely different product than what was thought up in 2011. It became for profit, and the primary intention is to create payment networks with financial organizations and institutions. So it seems like it came down to this. Jed wanted to fight the banks and help the unbanked, and the Ripple team wanted to help the banks. Here's where things get very interesting and telling about the two projects. Stellar forked away from the original Ripple consensus in late 2014. Stellar had Professor David Mazieres, head of Stanford's Secure Computing Group, review the consensus system, and he concluded the existing system was unlikely to be safe under all circumstances. It was concluded that the current consensus favored fault tolerance and termination over safety. This means that it prioritizes ledger closes and availability over everyone actually agreeing on what the ledger is. Essentially, this would create two competing ledgers with two different truths. Based on his findings, David Mazieres would then become chief scientist at Stellar and created the new consensus, the Stellar Consensus Protocol, which is based on the Federated Byzantine Agreement, which allows nodes individual control on whom to trust, allowing membership to grow out of pairwise relationships between the network participants. And guess what? Ripple hasn't forked away from this consensus. They are still allowing this consensus that has proved to be flawed. Ripple, up until July 2nd of this year, ran all 14 validators on the network. On this date, July 2nd, 4 third-party validators joined the network. So, of course, Ripple hasn't forked yet because they were running the system fully centralized. As Ripple's decentralization takes hold and more third-party validators are let into the network, the chances of fork that Stellar faced in 2014 will become a real probability. But as we know, the Ripple software is not open source, but wholly owned and controlled by Ripple. Ripple is closed source, so funny business could go on, reversing transactions, messing with the ledger. I mean, Ripple's protocol was actually researched by the crypto exchange Bitmex in February of this year, and they found out the company is in complete control of moving the ledger forward. Also, there is more found out by Bitmex. They found out that Ripple is missing 32,750 blocks from the start of the Ripple ledger in 2013, as nodes are not able to obtain the data. This makes it impossible to properly audit the company and the whole chain in the future. Ripple is setting itself up for a disaster, which could take down the whole crypto community with it. Now, I don't want to be a conspiracy theorist, but man, this is all too clear now. The Bitcoin crash and the Bitcoin Cash hash wars has been coordinated. I don't know by whom, but I have a feeling Roger Ver is a puppet being used by some elites who are behind Ripple. If you didn't know, Roger Ver is an early investor in Ripple. Here's Roger Ver's website, rogerver.com, and his current investments. Number 1, Ripple. Here's a quote of him saying he is one of the earliest investors in Ripple. The number of XRP he owns from this investment is unknown. He also accumulated 25 million more in 2015 when Ripple was just 1 cent. How do we know this? Ripple was fined by the Financial Crimes Enforcement Network for secret transactions. What did they find out? Roger Ver bought $250,000 worth of Ripple, and they tried to keep that under the wraps. I wonder why. Now, Craig Wright, on the other side of the Bcash war, is the paid-off patsy that is acting like a lunatic, so the blame all goes on him, while no one notices Ripple sliding right in. Ripple holding its market cap is directly fueled by the banksters. Will they keep Ripple around and make all the holders rich like you at home? Fuck no. For one, they can dilute the value and make new coins. They control the system. The people do not. This goes one of two ways. Either the elite control cryptocurrency through Ripple, or number 2, Ripple's fatal flaws have been kept on purpose. If it does do the impossible and takes over Bitcoin, Once the fatal flaws are exposed, cryptocurrency will be labeled as a disaster, possibly to never recover. Cheers, and I'll always see you next time.